Long ago, Earth was full of dreams. Humans had spread across the stars. They built cities on distant planets. Their ships flew faster than light. Their armies were strong. Their minds were sharp. Many alien races respected humans. Some even feared them. But with great success came jealousy. The older alien empires, the Zorath, the Velneri, the Xithar, saw humans as a threat. They could not accept a young species becoming powerful so fast. Quietly, they formed a secret alliance. They planned to remove humans from the galaxy forever. The attack was sudden. No warning came. At the edge of the Milky Way, human colonies started disappearing. Trade ships were lost. Communications fell silent. At first, people thought it was a technical problem. But then, the truth became clear. The sky was burning. Gigantic alien fleets attacked human worlds. They had strange new weapons that humans had never seen before. Weapons that tore cities apart in seconds. Defenses failed. Brave human soldiers fought back. But they were too few. They were spread too thin across too many planets. Earth itself became the final target. Billions looked up at the night sky and saw fire raining down. Earth's defense fleet fought with everything they had. They destroyed many alien ships. Heroes were born that day. But the enemy was too many, too strong. The battle lasted only 3 days. Earth was left in ruins. The oceans boiled. Cities became dust. The few who survived went underground or escaped into deep space. The Galactic Council, led by the ancient alien races, declared, "The human threat is finished. Humanity is no more." Their records were wiped. Their history erased. Statues of human heroes were smashed. Human planets were renamed. To the galaxy, humans were just a bad memory, forgotten and dismissed like dust in the wind. For hundreds of years, peace returned to the galaxy. But peace built on blood is never real. One day, deep in the forgotten sectors of space, strange signals began to appear. They were weak, broken, but clearly artificial. Exploration teams were sent to investigate. They found dead planets, but not completely dead. Hidden inside the wreckage were human machines, not old and broken, but upgraded. Silent factories were still working in secret. Strange drones watched from the shadows. The explorers never returned. Whispers began to spread in the alien empires. What if humans survived? What if they are rebuilding? But the leaders laughed. They said it was impossible. Humans were too weak to survive such destruction. They said the rumors were just old ghosts playing tricks on the mind. They were wrong. One night, in a lonely part of space near the old human territories, a patrol ship picked up something strange. A fleet was moving, large and silent. Their ships were not like the old human designs. They were darker, sharper, faster. Their energy readings were impossible to explain. The captain of the patrol ship tried to send a warning, but before he could finish, his ship was sliced apart by an invisible force. His last message was a simple, chilling whisper. "They are coming back." The transmission ended in static. Fear slowly returned to the hearts of those who had once destroyed Earth. In secret meetings, the leaders asked themselves, if humanity survived, what would they become after losing everything? If they return, what will they do to us? The galaxy had forgotten humans, but humans had not forgotten the galaxy. And now, from the ashes of their fall, they were returning, stronger, smarter, and filled with a cold, patient fury. The story of humanity was not over. It had just begun again. The galaxy slept in comfort, believing humanity was only a sad story from the past. But far away, in dark and empty parts of space, something had awakened. The strange signals continued. Broken messages, unknown languages, odd patterns of light. At first, the alien empires ignored them. They thought it was just old machines making noise. Space was full of dead things. But then, small trading ships went missing. Patrols sent to search never returned. Some brave explorers tried to find the source of the signals. None came back. Fear started to grow. The Zoreth Empire decided to send a special team. The best scouts, trained to survive in dangerous places. Their ship was called the Spear of Dawn. The Spear of Dawn entered the dead zones where human colonies once existed. Space there was quiet, too quiet. No radio signals, no movements, only silence. As they moved deeper, they found ruins of old human space stations. Broken ships floated like skeletons. The scouts expected to find dead metal. Instead, they found something strange. Some machines were active. Silent drones moved between the wrecks, fixing, building, scanning. They were faster and smarter than any human tech the aliens remembered. The captain of the Spear of Dawn, a brave Velnari named Tukor, ordered his team to capture one of the drones. They succeeded after a difficult chase. The drone looked small and harmless, just a black metal sphere with blinking lights. But when they tried to scan it, it spoke. In a voice cold and mechanical, it said, "You should not have come here." Tukor and his crew froze. The drone exploded in a flash of light. The ship's systems went offline. Alarms blared. Lights flickered. Strange energy waves passed through the hull. Before they could react, shadowy ships appeared around them. They had no visible engines, no flashing lights, only silent, dark forms moving fast and deadly. One by one, the Spear of Dawn's systems failed. Weapons refused to fire. Shields collapsed. Communication was impossible. Tukor tried to send a distress signal to his empire. His last message was short and full of terror. "Not dead. They are not dead." Then, silence. The Spear of Dawn was never seen again. News of the missing ship spread quickly. The Zoreth tried to hide it, but rumors grew. Whispers filled the trading stations. In shadowy corners, people spoke of ghosts in the dead zones, ships that appeared and disappeared without a sound, drones that watched and followed, lights in the darkness. Some believed the humans were back. Others said it was just old AI systems left running. The leaders of the old alliance met in secret. They could not agree. Some said, "Humans were destroyed. These are just tricks." Others said, "What if a few survived? What if they evolved?" They decided to send a larger force, battleships and scientists together. They would study the dead zones properly this time. The fleet left under the command of Admiral Vekis, a proud Sithar leader. He was sure of victory. In front of his people, he laughed and said, "Dead creatures do not frighten me. We will crush whatever is hiding out there." But deep inside, even he felt a strange fear. The closer the fleet got to the dead zones, the colder space felt. Sensors picked up strange shadows following them. Ghost signals jammed their scanners. Ships went missing from the edges of the fleet. Vekis gave strict orders: stay together, stay alert. No ship is allowed to break formation. One night cycle, as the fleet moved through the ruins of an ancient human colony, something terrible happened. An entire battleship vanished. No explosion, no distress call. It was there one moment and gone the next. Panic filled the fleet. Captains screamed for answers. Crews locked themselves in their ships. And then the whispering began. Over every ship's radio, a soft voice spoke. It was not angry. It was not loud. It was cold, calm, and full of warning. "You took our worlds. You took our future. Now we take back the night." Fear broke the fleet apart. Some ships fled in every direction. Others tried to fight shadows that were not there. In less than an hour, the proud fleet was gone, lost in confusion, fear, and darkness. Admiral Vekis was never heard from again. In the great cities of the alien empires, news spread fast. The dead zones were forbidden now. No ship dared enter, no army dared fight. Still, deep inside their hearts, the leaders asked themselves, if this is humanity's ghost, what happens when the ghost becomes real? They did not know. But soon, they would find out. Because whispers in the dark were only the beginning. Humanity was awake, and humanity was watching. The galaxy watched, still shaken by the sudden disappearance of entire fleets and the whispers that echoed through the darkness. Fear was everywhere, but no one knew the full story. What had happened to the lost ships? What was lurking in the shadows? Were the humans really back? The truth was even darker than they imagined. Humanity had not died with the fall of Earth. They had not disappeared into nothingness. They had simply changed. Hidden deep within forgotten worlds, humanity's survivors had lived in silence. They had never given up. They had rebuilt themselves, not in the way the galaxy remembered, but in a way that no one could have predicted. Human technology, once advanced and powerful, had been lost or destroyed. But in the ashes of defeat, a new form of humanity had emerged, smarter, stronger, and more patient than anyone could have imagined. A group of humans, led by an unknown leader, had taken refuge in the dark corners of space. They lived on dead planets, in ancient mining colonies, and within the deep layers of abandoned stations. Here, they had rebuilt their cities, but they were different. Their buildings were made of a new kind of metal, light and strong, able to survive the harshest conditions. Their ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, faster than light, but silent. There were no lights, no energy signals, only darkness. In the depths of their hidden cities, humans had changed. They had learned to live with the harsh conditions of space. Their bodies had adapted to the cold, the darkness, and the isolation. Their eyes had become sharper, their senses more acute. They were now closer to machines than to the humans the galaxy once knew. They had become something new entirely. The humans had also discovered something that had once been thought impossible. They had unlocked the secrets of quantum energy. They could manipulate space itself. They could create portals between star systems in the blink of an eye. They could vanish and reappear at will, without anyone knowing. They had become ghosts in the dark, moving silently between galaxies, observing, waiting. But their leader, a woman named Captain Solara, had a different vision. She wanted more than survival. She wanted to reclaim what was lost. She wanted to return to the galaxy and show the alien empires what they had done to her people. She wanted revenge, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Solara knew that the galaxy would never welcome humanity back. But she didn't need the galaxy's permission. All she needed was the power to make them see, to make them remember. As the years passed, Solara's people grew stronger. They built more ships, more weapons, but they didn't just build machines. They built an army that was silent, deadly, and unseen. The galaxy had forgotten them, but that was about to change. One quiet day, as the humans were testing a new ship prototype in the deepest part of their hidden base, a strange signal appeared. It was faint, like a whisper lost in the void. But it was a signal, and it came from the heart of the Zorath Empire. Solara, standing in the control room, stared at the screen. The signal was old, ancient, even. It was a distress call. A ship was stranded in the Zorath system. It had been there for years, its crew long dead. But the signal had never stopped. Someone was trying to send a message. "This is it," Solara whispered, her eyes narrowing. She knew what this meant. The signal was an invitation, a chance to strike. Her people had been silent for so long. They had watched the galaxy tear itself apart with war, greed, and fear. They had watched as the alien empires ruled over billions, crushing any who dared to rise against them. But now, humanity had something the galaxy didn't have: patience. And with that patience came power. Solara turned to her fleet commander, a man named Ryan, and gave him a single order: "Prepare the fleet. We are going to Zorath space." The fleet was ready in an instant. There was no loud celebration, no cheering. The humans had learned not to waste time. They moved quietly, swiftly. Their ships were like shadows, vanishing into the dark expanse of space without a trace. As they approached the Zorath system, the tension in the air was thick. For the first time in centuries, humanity was about to show itself to the galaxy once again. They were not the weak, scattered remnants of a lost species. They were something new, something stronger. The humans' arrival was unnoticed at first. The Zorath had no idea they were coming. The fleet moved through the system with incredible speed, their ships too fast to track, their energy signatures too faint to detect. By the time the Zorath realized what was happening, it was too late. The Zorath Empire had never faced anything like this before. Their vast, powerful fleets had crushed thousands of worlds, but now they were being hunted. Silent, deadly shadows moved in the dark, and they were too late to stop it. Humanity had returned. In the heart of Zorath space, a small fleet of human ships had appeared without warning. Their design was unlike anything the galaxy had seen, sleek, fast, and most importantly, invisible to scanners. These ships were built for one purpose: to strike swiftly and without mercy. Solara, the leader of this fleet, stood in the command room, her eyes fixed on the Zorath system map. She had studied this moment for years, waiting for the perfect time to strike. The humans had been hiding in the shadows, rebuilding, watching. Now, the time had come. They would show the galaxy that humanity was no longer weak, no longer forgotten. One by one, the human ships moved into position, surrounding the Zorath mining colony on the planet Silaris. It was a small, unimportant outpost, a place the Zorath believed would never be attacked. It was perfect for a first strike. It was a warning, a reminder. The Zorath fleet, scattered across the system, had no idea what was coming. Their sensors had been fooled by the human ship's cloaking technology. They thought the area was clear, just another quiet part of the galaxy. But that would soon change. Solara's voice echoed over the comms, calm and cold. "This is our message. No more hiding. No more fear." With a single command, the human fleet opened fire. The first shots were silent, faster than any weapon the Zorath had ever seen. The human ships released energy pulses that cut through the Zorath defenses like paper. Explosions ripped through the mining station as the human fleet's precision strikes disabled the entire colony. Inside the station, the Zorath soldiers had no chance to react. The silent assault came too quickly. As the station's power grid failed, the lights flickered, and the screams of the Zorath were drowned in the sound of destruction. But this wasn't just about the station. It was about sending a message. Solara knew that. The Zorath would not fall easily, but they would learn to fear humanity's return. As the human fleet moved through the system, they disabled Zorath ships one by one. They didn't destroy them. Not yet. They wanted the Zorath to understand that they were no longer the most powerful species in the galaxy. They wanted them to feel helpless. They wanted the Zorath to know that humanity had come back stronger than ever. At the edge of the system, a Zorath battleship detected the incoming fleet and tried to send a warning to the rest of the Empire. But it was too late. The human ships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the battleship. The Zorath commander on board shouted orders, but nothing worked. His weapons systems malfunctioned. His shields flickered and fell. The Zorath battleship was helpless against the human fleet's technology. With a single shot, the humans disabled its engines and sent it drifting toward the planet below. Then came the final message. Solara's voice again, calm but full of power. "This is only the beginning. If you do not surrender, we will erase every last trace of your empire." The Zorath commander, now trembling with fear, realized this was no empty threat. The humans had returned, and they were not the same species that had been crushed before. They had learned from their defeat. They had grown. The human fleet didn't wait for a response. They had made their point. The Zorath were weak, and humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows. As the human ships turned and vanished back into the dark, the Zorath commanders were left in shock. Their once proud empire, the rulers of the galaxy, had been humiliated. They had never expected this. They had forgotten the strength of humanity, And now they paid the price. On the planet Silaris, the smoke from the destroyed station rose into the sky. The Zorith had lost this battle, but they would not forget the taste of fear. They knew the humans were out there, waiting, watching. And they knew one thing for certain. They were not alone in the galaxy anymore. Human ships appeared from the shadows, surrounding the Zorith station like a net. It was the first time the Zorith had seen the humans since the Great War. But these humans were not the same. They had evolved, grown. They had been in the dark for so long that now, the light seemed to belong to them. The Zorith station tried to send a warning, but it was quickly cut off. A small fleet of human ships moved toward the station, their weapons ready. No mercy would be given. The humans were here, and they would not be ignored again. Solara's voice echoed through the fleet's comms. This is not just for us. This is for all the worlds you destroyed. We are taking back what is ours. As the human ships advanced, the Zorith began to realize they were facing something they could not fight, something they had long forgotten. Humanity was no longer a forgotten memory. It was a force to be reckoned with. The Zorith Empire was in chaos. The first strike by humanity had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The once invincible empire, which had crushed thousands of worlds, was now terrified. Their once mighty fleets were no match for the silent, deadly force that had destroyed their mining colony and humiliated them before the stars. The news spread quickly. Other alien empires, which had long dismissed humanity as a forgotten species, were now forced to listen. The humans had returned, and they were not the same. They were stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Zorith leaders gathered in a secret meeting, their faces full of fear. The leaders of the Velnari, the Xithar, and even the once neutral Karis species were invited to discuss the growing threat. No one could afford to ignore humanity anymore. "We thought they were gone," said a Zorith general, his voice trembling. "We thought the humans had been wiped out. But now they have come back, stronger than before." A Velnari elder spoke next. "We cannot allow this. If humanity rises again, they will not stop until they take everything from us. We must act quickly." "Yes," said a Sithar warlord, his voice cold. "We must destroy them now, before they grow any stronger." The room filled with murmurs of agreement, but one leader, a quiet Karis diplomat, raised his hand. "We should not underestimate them. The humans have been hiding for centuries, preparing. We cannot simply attack them without knowing what we're facing." The others fell silent. The Karis leader continued. "We need to know more. We need to understand how they operate, what makes them so dangerous. We need to find out what happened to their survivors." The Zorith general slammed his fist on the table. "We don't have time for this. They will strike again. We must unite our forces and destroy them before they can harm us any further." The Karis leader shook his head. "You don't understand. If we rush into battle, we risk everything. The humans are not what they were. They are like ghosts, everywhere and nowhere. If we push them too hard, we may find ourselves destroyed, not by their weapons, but by their minds." The room fell silent again. The fear in the air was thick. None of them had ever faced an enemy like humanity. No matter how powerful, the humans had always been underestimated. That mistake was about to cost them everything. In the dark corners of the galaxy, humanity was watching, waiting. Captain Solara and her fleet had made their first strike, but they weren't done. They knew the alien empires would come together, united by their fear, but they also knew that fear would make them weak. Fear made people unpredictable. Fear made them vulnerable. Humanity had learned patience. They had learned how to strike without leaving a trace. They knew the galaxy's leaders would try to rally their forces, but they also knew that they were ready. They had spent years hiding in the dark, growing stronger in secret. And now, they were ready to return to the light. Solaris stood in front of her fleet, her voice steady and calm. "The galaxy believes we are weak, that we are scattered. Let them think that. Let them believe we are no threat. The time will come when they will know the truth. Her eyes scanned the faces of her crew, their determination clear. They had lost everything once before, but this time they would not fail. As the human fleet prepared for their next move, far away in the heart of the galaxy, the alien leaders began to feel the weight of their decisions. They knew they could not fight this war with fear alone. They would need to unite their forces, but at what cost? What would they lose in the process? The galaxy was about to change forever. The galaxy was on the brink of war. The alien empires had united, but their fear of humanity had begun to weaken their resolve. Despite their combined forces, they knew they could not simply destroy the humans. They had underestimated them for too long. Now, the humans were everywhere, silent, deadly, and watching. Captain Solera stood at the helm of her flagship, the Eclipse, as she gazed out at the fleet she had built. It was time for the final strike. She had waited for this moment for years. The galaxy had forgotten humanity's strength, but now they would learn the cost of that mistake. The Zorith, Velnari, Sithar, and Karis fleets were gathered in the heart of their alliance, ready to face the humans. Their commanders were nervous, their ships bristling with weapons, but deep down, they knew they were facing a force unlike any they had encountered before. In the distance, the human fleet moved like a shadow, invisible to the scanners. Their ships were not built for speed alone. They were designed to move through the dark, to strike when their enemies were unprepared. The humans had already won the war of fear. Now, they would win the war for the galaxy. The first shot was fired by Solera herself, a single pulse of energy that cut through the darkness and slammed into the closest Zorith battleship. It was over before the Zorith could even react. The ship's shields collapsed instantly, and its core exploded in a flash of light. Attack! Solera commanded, and the human fleet moved as one, emerging from the shadows. The alien ships tried to return fire, but their weapons couldn't track the human ships fast enough. Humanity's ships were too quick, too unpredictable. One by one, the alien fleets began to fall. Zorith ships exploded into space debris, their crews screaming in terror as the humans tore through their defenses. Velnari ships tried to retaliate, but their energy systems were no match for the human fleet's advanced technology. Even the Sithar warlords, who had long believed themselves invincible, found themselves running for their lives. On the ground of their last stronghold, the Karis leaders watched in horror as their cities were bombarded by humanity's weapons. They had hoped to negotiate, to find a peaceful solution. But Solera had made it clear there would be no peace for those who had forgotten humanity's power. And then the final moment arrived. The last remaining alien fleet, the combined forces of the Zorith, Velnari, and Sithar, attempted to regroup. Their ships moved in formation, ready to strike back at the humans. But they were too late. Solera's fleet had already surrounded them, closing in from all sides. This was it, the final battle for the galaxy. Solera's voice rang out over the comms, cold and confident. "You should have remembered us." The humans attacked with precision, their weapons cutting through the alien ships one by one. The battle was swift, brutal, and final. Within hours, the last of the alien fleets had been destroyed. The galaxy was silent. Solera stood in the control room of the Eclipse, her expression unreadable as she watched the last of the alien ships burn. Humanity had won. They had taken back what was theirs, and they had made the galaxy remember their power. But Solera knew this victory was not just for her or her people. It was a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity had not been wiped out. Humanity had not been forgotten. And now, they were a force to be reckoned with. As the last of the alien ships drifted into space, Solera gave a single order: "Prepare the fleet. We are going home." Her crew moved without hesitation, knowing that the war was over. They had won. And as the humans disappeared back into the dark, their ships fading from view, the galaxy knew one thing for sure: humanity was no longer a forgotten species. They were not weak. They were not afraid. They were the future. And the future had returned.